Significant severe coral bleaching has been reported in at least 54 countries and territories around the globe since February 2023. So it's spatially extensive, occurring, again, in all ocean basins across multiple countries. NOAA is declaring that the world is indeed, in fact, experiencing its fourth global coral bleaching event.
It is unfortunately official. Scientists from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and the International Coral Reef Initiative have formally announced wide swaths of tropical reefs have started to expel the colorful algae living in their tissue. The joint statement comes just weeks after NOAA issued a dire warning about the risk of a mass coral bleaching event following months of record-breaking ocean heat and documenting extensive bleaching-level heat stress on reefs across the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Oceans. Joining us now is the man you just heard from, the coordinator of NOAA's Coral Reef Watch, Derek Manzello. Derek, thank you so much for coming on. So, for those who might not be familiar with the term coral bleaching, what exactly is it and what causes it?
So corals are an animal very similar to a jellyfish or something like that. They're very simple animals. They're only about 4 cell layers thick, but they live in a symbiotic relationship with a type of algae, and this algae provides upwards of 95% of the nutritional requirements of the coral animal. However, the symbiotic relationship is highly sensitive to elevated temperatures. And this is because photosynthesis essentially goes haywire in the algae at high temperatures and high light, causing the coral animal to expel these symbionts. So when they expel their symbionts, they turn stark bone white, and they just have the coral tissue and no algae. And essentially what this means is that the coral is in a state of starvation. So if water temperatures don't decline and things don't cool off quick enough, the coral may eventually die from this bleach condition.
So this is now the 4th worldwide mass bleaching event. When was the last one, and why is this so significant?
So there have been 3 previous global coral bleaching events on record. The first was 1998, the second was 2010, and the third was from 2014 to 2017. So this is the second global scale mass coral bleaching event we've experienced in the last 10 years. And the coral reefs are significant for multiple reasons. So one of the big things they do is they provide coastal protection from storms. Now, healthy coral reefs can block more than 90% of the wave energy during things like hurricanes, typhoons, and cyclones. Coral reefs are also the rainforests of the sea. Now, what that means is about 25% of every living thing in the ocean depends on coral reefs at some point in its lifetime. So what that means is 1 in 4 of every organism that's alive in the ocean is dependent on functional, healthy coral reefs.
So how does weather play a role in this? I assume that El Nino and La Nina both play a part, but what exactly is it?
So El Nino definitely plays a part. Now, the first mass coral bleaching event that ever occurred on record due to elevated ocean temperatures happened actually 40 years ago now. So this occurred throughout the Eastern Tropical Pacific over 1982-1983. Now, that was, at that time, the strongest El Nino on record. Now, of course, we've broken that record now 2 times since. Now, the reason this is so severe and that, these mass coral bleaching events are happening more frequently is because the ocean is warming significantly and rapidly, and it's outpacing the ability of corals to keep track with these rising ocean temperatures.
Is there any hope? Can coral reefs rebound?
Absolutely. So there's absolutely hope. One of the things I want to make clear is that all is not lost, right? This should be viewed as a global warning. The fact that we're seeing this synchronous bleaching happening in all 3 ocean basins, it's so severe you can see coral bleaching from satellites, right? So if temperatures cool off quickly enough, corals can recover and they can rebound. Now, the issue is coral bleaching events are becoming more severe and they're becoming more frequent. So even in the best case circumstance, it can take a reef maybe 7 to 15 years to start recovering coral from upstream sources. Coral larvae come in from other reefs. Now, the issue is we're seeing bleaching events happen with much greater frequency than 7 to 15 years. So what this means is that reefs are now entering a state of chronic stress. And this is why it's so important that we continue to engage in this assisted evolution process using cutting edge science and restoration to try to breed corals that have higher heat tolerance that we can then utilize to restore places that have been impacted, like the Florida Keys.
Derek Manzello, thank you so much for coming on and for sharing your knowledge with us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.